considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 1. This is one of our Celebrate Recovery verses that we use. Now, in verse 9, for to this end also did I write, that I might now know the proof of you, whether ye be obedient in all things. To whom ye forgive many things, I forgive also. For if I forgive uh, anything to whom I forgave it, for your sake forgave I it in the person of Christ, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. You see, the devil tries to push us one away or another. Sometimes the devil gets us to shut our eyes to gross immorality. There are many instances in that instances of that in our churches today. I know one preacher who has had trouble with women in three different churches. Each church he went to serve knew his past record, and still they accepted the pastor. In shutting their eyes to gross immorality, they were hurting the cause of Jesus Christ. And we have one here. He's a great preacher. I cry every time I hear him preach in the altar call, but it goes from he left the church here, went to a church off somewhere. Uh, he because he cheated on his wife here, he cheated on his wife there, and came back here and cheated on his wife here again. And so it's very sad. Now, suppose he had repented and had really turned from his sin, which he had not. Then they should have forgiven him. Unfortunately, many of our stiff backed brethren will not forgive anything that can be the work of the devil, as well as shutting one's eyes to immorality. Satan gets the advantage of a great many Christians because they are unforgiving. There are two things that we don't hear very often, even in our conservative churches. We don't hear folks admitting their sins and asking for forgiveness, nor do we hear folk forgiving those who confess. There is an unforgiving spirit in many of our churches. We need to remember that we are all capable of sin. Whatever the other man has done, we are also capable of doing it. When such a man repents from his sin, he is to be restored in the spirit of meekness. He is to be brought back into the fellowship. This is part of the ministry. It is a glorious ministry, isn't it? Number 12, furthermore, when I came to Troas to preach Christ's gospel, a door was opened unto me of the Lord. He came to Troas, and there he found an open door. It was the will of God for him to stay there and to preach the gospel rather than proceed on to Corinth at that time. Paul was not being fickle, he was being faithful. He was faithful to the opportunity which God had given him. Verse 13, I had no rest in my spirit, because I found not Titus, my brother. But taking my leave of them, I went from thence to Macedonia. Even while he was preaching the gospel in Troas, he was grieved at heart because Titus hadn't come to bring him word concerning the congregation in Corinth. He waited for Titus to come, but Titus didn't come. Then Paul went over to Philippi in Macedonia. It was there that Titus came and brought word that the Corinthians had dealt with this sin in their congregation, and that the man had now repented and had returned from his